I'm really excited about this one because this is one I've been harping on a whole lot, and this is one I've been really watching evolve as I've traveled to many stores. And I'll just lightly comment on this. There's a drastic difference right now in the people that are driving in, new customers and main customer retention with the people that have really cool products in the food and beverage categories. I'm seeing Black Rifle Coffee, the Black Rifle Coffee Company, I'm seeing gums, I'm seeing drinks, all these cool things. And it goes back to the convenience factor that Josh will drive home, and no better person than him, so I'm gonna get this PowerPoint set for him.
All right, guys, so we're going to talk about functional foods and beverages. You guys already saw this slide before, but important part to mention about this is that though currently probably 50% of my clients are somewhat connected stakeholder-wise to this space, the other 50% is in traditional grocery items. So I've worked on projects with Dr. Pepper or Kellogg's or many other ones. So all the things I'm talking about are probably going to be, I'm going to try to make sure I stay pretty current here, but there's also going to be some things that are going to be a little bit forward, just to kind of keep in mind, similar to like the CBD stuff, like you're always need to make sure you're staying ahead because new categories are coming up, new opportunities are coming up, and the more that you can spot them early and get in early, you have a differentiation over a lot of other people. So what is a functional food and beverage? Like, what is the definition? I know that gets thrown around a lot, and I think that people maybe misclassify it because they think, in our space, it's a lot of energy drinks and it's a lot of protein bars. That's what people just equate to it. The FDA doesn't actually have a definition for it. There's no real definition for it. It's basically any product that has some functional benefit added to it. So that could be like vitamin fortified, that could be probiotics, that could be added protein. There's a ton of different things here. But essentially, what that does for somebody like me, an analyst that pays attention to a lot of the markets and all that, it's very hard to place what the actual market is for functional foods. Like, what is the big number that you guys like to see to know, is this something that we want to play in or not? The sports nutrition space is somewhere around like 40, 50 billion, usually globally. But if you take a traditional thought of functional foods and beverages, you're looking at somewhere between 4 or 5 times that. So you're looking at somewhere between $200 and $300 billion, and that is actually growing faster than the sports nutrition space. So the overall market is somewhere around 8%, and that obviously takes like hundreds of different categories together. So there's some that are moving a little bit slower, even some of the vitamin categories and things are moving slower. But then you have some things like maybe like a collagen, or in CBD's case, that's 50% year-over-year growth. You have a lot of categories, even like traditional protein RTDs that are still growing at close to 20% year-over-year. So there's still a lot of people that are buying these products. There are new people buying these products. The kind of the point of just making you guys aware of the market size is that all of this new, like, bigger market is an opportunity for you guys. These are new people that you guys don't normally touch on a day-to-day basis that are now somehow getting attached to our world. They are interested in better for you, healthier for you products. They might not have ever taken a caps, powders, pills type of a scenario. They don't know what those are. They've never really taken any of those, or they think those aren't for them. But they are interested in getting healthier for them or better through the products that they're taking. So this provides you guys an opportunity to service a new type of customer that's coming in the door, one that hasn't really ever been inside of your guys' doors originally. So this is similar to a slide that you guys saw before, and kind of taking it a little bit different is that, it's great to know all those big numbers. It's great to know, I think everybody's kind of heard all the different things in terms of functional foods and beverages, and you guys are obviously seeing a lot of people come in your door that are just buying a protein bar or an energy drink, and those customers hadn't really came in before. But it's important for you guys to understand like how to actually leverage this massive category for your success. It's one thing to just put them all on the shelf and sell them. It's another thing to actually understand how to utilize them for your success. And the idea here, the slide that was very similar that you guys saw from the last presentation is kind of also looking at, what's the demographic and the psychographic makeup, the who and the why behind the population again, because that helps you understand exactly what type of functional food and beverage should you stock. You know, if you have a store in Iowa, that's probably much different than what you'd want to stock if you had one in Austin or something like that. So you need to understand the makeup around you. You don't want to just stock the top sellers just because you feel like you have to stock the top sellers, because I guarantee you that almost every other retailer in your space, especially like the Quest Nutritions or things like that, they're everywhere. They're not just in the supplement stores now. So you have to really take that into consideration. What's the makeup of people around your store? Can you actually put the right products in the store that they're going to be interested in? And then also just the idea of like shopping your competitors. And with functional foods and beverages, you can't just shop the local supplement stores or the GNCs or the vitamin shops. You have to go into the convenience stores. You have to go into the grocery stores. You have to go into the Walmarts, the Costco's, the whatever. Like, what are they stocking in the categories that you're looking at? Because this is where they're adding the most amount of their square footage right now. This is where they're adding the most amount of the products that are kind of intruding into the space of specialty retail. So knowing what they're stocking will help you understand maybe what you don't want to put on the shelf because you don't want to duplicate anything. We're talking about exclusive experiences in the first one. We want to make sure you have the right products that are going to be differentiating your competitors. So if you're stocking just the top sellers, again, you're not going to be able to compete on price against a 7-Eleven because they can buy, you know, tens of millions of dollars in a Quest bar, and you're only buying 12 at a time, or 24 at a time from Europa or something like that. So it's not going to be anything you can compete with them on that. So you have to make sure that you are just paying attention to more of the retailers, because this space does, unfortunately, put you in the playing field of other retailers, not just supplement retailers. And then understanding, this is kind of an important one, maybe a lot of people don't think about, because of all the brands getting into functional foods and beverages, it provides opportunities for you guys, leverage points for you guys. There is this case of like competition. So everybody obviously probably sells and stocks a bunch of Bang Energy. That's what people are asking for all the time. But there's a lot of people that are coming in and maybe you're just looking for an energy drink. And because of Bang Energy's success, somebody like Cellucor might be interested in giving you specials because they want to take up some cooler space. They want to be able to attract some of those customers. They want trial into their energy drink over Bang, so they're more willing to negotiate with you guys. And because of more of these brands, America Energy or things like that, that are getting into the space of energy drinks, they are trying to claw away at a Bang Energy. So they're willing to give you guys more. And if you understand that, you can use that as leverage. The other side is from a retail, like a staff perspective. If there is a local rep, especially with like functional foods and beverages, there's usually more of like a regional rep aspect to it. With caps, powders, pills, it's all moved towards like inside sales guys. You don't have a lot of the regional sales guys anymore that are roaming the country. You don't really even have that many national sales guys rolling the country. But when you're removing heavy beverages or protein bars, that turns into having more employees out there, and if they have a territory and you are one of their key retailers in that territory, they want you to sell a lot of things. That gives you leverage. You have the opportunity to negotiate a little bit harder because you do have so many other opportunities, and that guy being in that geographical area that wants your account to do well because he wants to keep his job or make a commission or whatever it is, he's going to be more willing to give up some space, be that margin, maybe build out something special, do some events, whatever it is. But those are leverage points to really pay attention to. You're not going to get too many leverage points, I think, in this case because of just the amount of competition. But I think it's important just when you do have them to hammer them the best you can. So I'm going to break this down into kind of 3 categories of functional foods and beverages. I'll start with the one that's the most normal, the ones that you guys deal with a lot, and that's traditional packaged foods. You have this great thing that Jack Oak always says, if you ain't banging, you ain't hanging. It's probably one of my favorite things. It's great, but honestly, like traditional packaged foods, this is the one that you guys know probably pretty well. This is shelf-stable beverages. These are things that are in your coolers. So these are going to be your energy drinks. So within the energy drink category, now it's fragmented. There's a lot of kind of mid-categories, subcategories that are within all of these major categories. So within energy drinks, you have the traditional ones. These are ones that you're going to be probably conventional, 7-Eleven. So this is the Monster, the Rockstar, the Red Bull. Then you have the performance one. This is going to be like the Bang, this is going to be the C4, a couple Celsius, those types of ones. Then you have a natural line, which stevia-based ones. That's a certain type of customer that's probably going to want those types of, it's like a highball energy. And then you have more of a targeted one. So these are going to be ones that maybe are like geared towards a CrossFitter, or has some different maybe nootropics in it, or it has some type of herbs or botanicals, or something that's a little bit more than just the basic caffeine of some of these other ones. Then you have protein RTDs, again, the one that you guys have been selling for the longest time. That's also been fragmenting lately, so you have to pay attention to what you're actually stocking. So you have traditional ones, that's going to be your whey, your muscle milks, your labradas. Then you're going to have your plant-based ones, which is probably garnering a lot of attention in a lot of your guys' spaces. People are looking to supplement some of the animal protein with plant protein, even if they're not vegan or vegetarian or anything like that. They're just basically trying to implement, to them, whatever reason, whatever their driver is, a healthier version of animal protein. Then you have value-added water. That's another kind of big category. So there's the energy waters that aren't carbonated. You have the protein-added waters. You have the amino acid type of beverages. And that's one that is starting to gain a lot of attention. You guys are probably starting to see a lot of amino beverages that came over from Europe. That's starting to get a lot more attention. A lot of the brands are adding caffeine and stuff. That's just because it's a lot easier to sell a energy type of a product than over just a basic BCA, carbonated BCA type of a product. The other one that you guys are mostly super aware of is the protein bars, or just nutritional bars. Then, we have a lot of the attention from the kind of the mergers and acquisitions, like the business side of things has been coming from this area. You guys have seen a lot of the names that are really close to us going to bigger conglomerates. This is where a lot of the space, a lot of the kind of interest is for larger consumer packaged goods type of companies. So you saw Quest Nutrition sell for $1 billion. You saw one brand's for 400, and then there was a slew of other ones this year that have sold for a couple hundred here and there. So it's one of these hot spaces. So this is an area that has changed significantly for me. I know when I was in college, 10 years ago, when I was carrying around a protein bar, people were, it was weird. It was what are you eating? That's odd. They thought it was a candy bar. They didn't really realize what it was. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I'm in airports all the time, and I'm seeing grandmas with Quest bars just eating them. And it was one of those things where, this is what really added a lot of validity to our industry. It added a lot of new people into the industry that when they get into the funnel of the industry, hopefully then they get the right kind of education from you guys, or they shop at the right places, that then gets them into more of like the traditional type of items. But this is the kind of the opening of mainstream to get into our space. So thinking about, again, fragmentation within these spaces, you could stock a ton of different things. There's tons of different bar companies, but it's important for you guys to understand what is the best ones to stock within your location. So within protein bars, you have kind of the traditional ones. You have like more of the high protein ones. So this is going to get probably higher than 24 grams. That still has a special place in a lot of bodybuilders and stuff's plate. Their hearts. You have more of the natural lines. You have plant-based. Again, that one is kind of going really hot right now. So you have a ton of different spaces in terms of protein bars. You don't just need to stock the traditional or conventional ones. You could stock all kinds of different ones at this point. Protein cookies, for a while that was the hot thing. It was basically just protein bars that were smushed down. I don't know if they were really cookies, but now you're starting to see a real kind of change in terms of what those cookies are looking like. So right now you still only have really traditional ones, and then you have kind of the plant-based ones like Len and Larry's, vegan type of ones in that case. Then you're having confectionery. You're probably seeing a lot of brands start to hit you guys up about those, and those are going to be your coated popcorns. You see this being some of the wafers, some of the candies. These are generally at this point, if they're contacting you guys, they're probably going to be something like protein added. It's just easier to add a little bit of whey protein or something in the coating when they're making it. They can use traditional manufacturers to do that, and that's what you're going to see right now. In the future, it's probably going to change a little bit more towards a little bit crazier ideas, but right now that's kind of crazy for the industry, I guess. And then savory snacks. So that's the chips and crackers or whatever else that people are trying to add right now. Again, that's usually protein added. I think at this point, most of the brands are really just focusing on protein. Again, like protein as a whole of the market, it's somewhere around 70% of the market. It's kind of crazy to think about that because we think how hot pre-workouts are, we think all those types of things, but the vast majority of the sports nutrition industry as a whole is protein and protein added products. So there's this idea like millennials, and millennials are the biggest buying group. I'm a millennial. I don't really attribute a lot of the negative side of millennials to myself. I know that everybody has some trash talking for millennials, but what I'll say is that millennials have been the driver of change across the industry as a whole. It's the most influential industry as a whole. It's changed more things than you guys could even understand. But right now, in terms of supplements, they think of supplements as food. It's very much different than generations past. So the caps, powders, pills are not as attractive to them anymore. Now they're looking at different types of bars or drinks or whatever. They're replacing that because they're thinking about foods better for them, healthier for them foods as their supplements. So you have to kind of be wary of that, and kind of the early indications of Generation Z, they're just kind of getting into their adult buying power. They are actually stronger than millennials in terms of how they think of it. So this trend isn't going to go away. The idea of having a bunch of powders and caps and pills on a shelf is probably going to dwindle as it goes because people are not really interested in taking or consuming products in that way. But the economics around this, I think that's the main thing that people get most frustrated at, because you guys are having the people that used to come in and buy a $30 or $40 tub of protein or pre-workout, they're now coming in for an energy drink, or they're coming in for a protein bar. So the economics around the category is much different, which frustrates a lot of people because you're trying to cater to a different type of customer. So you have these kind of single-serve, low per unit priced products that you have to stock, because if you don't, somebody's going to go somewhere else for it. It is a driver of people into your store, but you have to understand how you can utilize it for your success. It's one thing to just merchandise, but it's another thing to actually merchandise, to actually give yourself some type of opportunity, some type of growth out of this. So you do have a lot of volume with this, which is great for you guys. That is both volume from a foot traffic standpoint, people coming in the door, but also from people just buying multiple units at a time, even 12 packs and things like that. So you usually have more of a volume play on that. You have low margin, which is bad. I totally get that. I totally understand where that's coming from. But I think I mentioned in the first talk here is that you can utilize that low margin in a way that drives people in the door, and then at your procedures, the way that you think of your business is going to get them to that ticket price that gives you a blended margin that's better than just trying to sell them that one item. The shelf life on the packaged goods are usually pretty good. You have about 2 years on things. Protein bars, you have a year, and then you basically have 6 months of actual good customer experience on a protein bar. You guys know you've had protein bars that have aged out, and they're chewy and they're tough, and it's just an unfortunate thing. A lot of the protein bars that are getting hot now, especially the one with Relentless that they're launching, those actually have a much better shelf-stable environment. They don't get as chewy. A lot of those high-fiber type of bars, they just react to the protein. It just kind of creates this kind of very hardened, chewy thing. You guys have probably tried to eat a Quest bar that's a year and a half old, and it almost breaks your teeth. You got to microwave it. So that's not, that's something to be considering, because there is a prime shelf life in packaged foods. A lot of them have a lot of extended one comparable to some of the other ones I'm going to be talking about, but it is important for you to know, because if a customer's coming in and you're trying to give them a protein bar that's a year old or 15 months old, odds are that's going to be a very bad experience for them. So you have to figure out, is it worth me stocking this? Do I make sure that when it's getting to the age where it's past its prime, do I run a blowout early? Do I do something to just make sure? Because though in the short term you might lose a little bit of money on it, long term you're going to lose a customer. And that customer over time, that customer lifetime value is going to go down, which is not going to be good, because you're going to have to spend more money on customer acquisition costs to get them back, and you don't want to do that. And then in terms of when I'm talking about spatially restrictive, you're talking about, it just takes up a lot of space. It takes up, unfortunately, you can't stack them in a way that makes it useful. And a lot of times you got to have them in certain areas. This is a challenge and an opportunity, because it also is, we're talking about with convenience stores, there's a certain way to spatially break down your store that makes people want to shop in a certain way. Maybe you can get them to add a second thing while they're walking out the door. And that's what I'm talking about with like spatially and in terms of side of this. So you can put it in certain areas where maybe they have to walk by certain things, maybe they have a better, you have a better chance of spotting them and talking to them in a certain way that you can get them on an upsell or a cross sell or something like that. So that's what I'm kind of talking about here. But for the most part, when I'm talking about restrictive, we're just saying that you can't kind of put it everywhere. There are some spaces that work better than other ones. Talk about leverage points, and you're going to see on all three of these categories, I'm going to be kind of following the same trend because I want to make sure you guys can at least keep the same kind of thought pattern when you guys are considering these types of things. So leverage points here, in terms of like high volume, low margin, like these could be either your golden ticket or these could be your death wish. You have to decide what they're going to be. So either you can continuously just let customers come in the door and just buy that one protein bar and be cool with it and just not really talk them up or try to do anything to sell them against anything else, or what I talked about earlier when you're trying to add customer data and you're trying to get information and get them into your system for longer terms so you get more value out of them long term. It's a decision. It's a conscious decision that you have to make when you're stocking these things. Yes, you have to. People are coming in the door for them, but you don't just have to be at the whim of them. They don't own you, you own them type of a situation. You're able to manipulate the situation however you need for your benefit. You just have to make a conscious effort to do that. So we talked about like the upsells. This is the idea that somebody comes in for an energy drink every single day. Maybe you tell them about a powdered fat burner that they've never heard of. The per serving is cheaper, but you're going to get a higher ticket price for that. You're going to have a higher margin on that product. It's a matter of having a conversation. Sometimes those customers, especially the customers that are new into the industry, these mainstream consumers that are just buying protein bars or energy drinks for the first time and they're not really used to capsule powder pills, they don't know that there's other maybe better products out there for them because they've never really taken them, nobody's ever told them about them. So you have to really have those conversations with people coming in the door, especially if somebody's coming in the door like every single day for the same item. It's like, it's worth the conversation, at least maybe to educate them on something. Cross-selling, this is maybe trying to pair things together. This is where you maybe merchandise the product. This is maybe if you see somebody having a lunch break every day, eating a protein bar, you ask them, what's going on? They start to tell you maybe some of the medical history. The conversation starts, then all of a sudden maybe you can kind of get them into a cross-sell, get them into a whatever, multiplier. I just kind of put that down, but you can get them into kind of anything. And then the idea of customer data. Again, these things are your biggest driver of customer data. When you have somebody coming in the door for a $3 ticket, ask them for email, ask them, whatever it is to get them into your system, because eventually you're going to be able to turn that $3 into 300 or 3,000 over the next year or two or whatever it is. So it's just a matter of making that conscious effort to train your employees, train yourself, whatever it is, to make sure you're not just getting lulled to sleep. When a guy comes in and picks up a $3 energy drink, you're not just like, shit, really, again? Like, this is going to be really bad for me. Like, it can be a great thing. You just have to make sure you put yourself in the right mindset. And then the idea of, we said before, C-stores, like you don't have those volumes, you don't have people constantly coming in. They work off of really small margins. They're okay with that. Obviously, when you go into a C-store, there's not somebody going in there and saying like, hey, what do you need? How about this? How about a higher thing? Like, because they don't care. They're working off a couple points because they have so much foot traffic going in the door. You guys, unfortunately, don't have that benefit. So you have to be diligent to make sure that you are asking those questions, conversating correctly, to make those functional foods actually act in your benefit and not just be a challenge point for you. So part 2 is going to be more towards like fresh goods. So the idea of making your retailer fresh, and this is a lot of times I talked about before, like demographic, psychographic of your makeup, your location. You have to be very aware of who's coming in your door. And not only who's coming in your door, but also who's around there that could potentially come in your door. What are the holes that are out there? Is there some opportunity for you guys to meet a need in the market that's not currently there? Can you create that exclusive experience? This is your opportunity kind of to shine. And talked about, retailers with fresh aspect. You guys have seen all these before in one case or another, but things like meal kits. In terms of grocery space, that's kind of the #1 fastest growing thing, where somebody comes in and they already have like pre-portioned out things. Though a lot of like the meal prep companies, in terms of what we see for our traditional spends, have not moved in that direction, I would imagine that they're going to do that. So if you have the opportunity to maybe buy some type of healthier for you, better for you type of meal kit, be interesting to stock that if you can. Same with like pre-made meals. This is, the Icon Meals is one that obviously is a national brand, but every one of your guys' local communities, there's a bro that's doing it, that's got this meal prep company that's doing that kind of stuff. But it's good to stock those things because he's looking for a retail point, he's looking for a distribution point, you're looking for something unique for items, especially if somebody's gonna come in every week to pick up their meals. It's another customer in the door that hopefully then you can convert them into something else. It's just a matter of you making a connection with that personal person, that local business owner within there that's doing that prep company. Then there's the idea of like fresh juices and smoothies. So I'm not talking about advocating going and doing juice bars or smoothie bars. Obviously, if you guys have those in your locations and you have success with them, great. But I'm talking more about just like a company, a local company that is already kind of stocking those things. Again, this could be locale based, this could be a customer base that you're really looking at these items to be useful for you. They might also just be a flop and you'd be like, nobody's gonna buy these things. But it's important to kind of notice those things because these are trends in the market that people are actively buying somewhere. Why can't they be buying from you? If they're going to you guys as their destination point for their journey to get better in health and fitness, they're gonna be looking for you guys to provide the best products, the most useful products for them. So it might be a good add-on to have those types of things. And then just the idea of like healthier for you type of baked goods. These are different than what I would consider like the packaged goods because these are more fresh. They're gonna have a much shorter type of shelf life. So the idea of like fresh goods, a lot of this is also tying into the first talk that I mentioned about like local marketing. Part of being local marketing and getting out there is knowing the businesses that are around you, knowing in your community like who is there, who actually has businesses that are ancillary to you, that are similar to you. A lot of times you're going to have like boutique protein goods makers. You're going to have the girl that's in shape that does maybe bikini. She does this stuff on the side or whatever. There's all these different kind of small businesses. People just looking for an opportunity to get in the door. And you guys being a pillar of nutrition and health in the community, you're a prime place for them to want to be. So it's a matter of you getting out there as a local celebrity and knowing who these people are, tapping them and saying, hey, I think your baked goods will be awesome here. I think your protein cookies, your protein donuts, the things that they're making in their kitchen or making them in the industrial kitchen or whatever that is, there's obviously, depending on how many stores and things, there's some legality around like, what, if somebody can make something in their kitchen. So I totally understand. I'm not advocating that you guys go out there, but there's a lot of times you're one shop, two shop, three shop type of a scenario, you don't have much liability in that sense. It's a matter of you helping another local entrepreneur. It just kind of helps build up your community a little bit stronger and make sure that you're stocking local goods, which I think most of you guys know that people are really interested in buying local, especially the ones that are still going into store locations, physical store locations. Those are the ones that actually care about the story behind the entrepreneur. This is the why. This is, they want to know that, Charlie is the one that owns this. I know Charlie has, 3 kids, and I know that this money is going to go to help him over, I don't know Jeff Bezos. I don't know anything about him. I don't know where that money's going to go. I don't want to support him. There's always that connection. People have that connection. You have to really make sure that you're drawing that out. And the idea of like fresh goods, there's a lot of local entrepreneurs that you can support, which will also support you and will just kind of help the ecosystem as a whole. So economics kind of run through this. The biggest thing about this is obviously the short shelf life. These things could be like a week long, 2 weeks long, could be even days long. So you have to really be aware of that. What I'd say is that if you are going to stock any type of fresh good, make sure that you have that conversation up front with whoever that entrepreneur is or whoever that brand is and say, hey, I don't want to take the liability or exposure on this. I'm obviously giving you guys a bunch of help with this distribution point. I'm not going to eat this if this starts going on. Let's create some type of agreement up front, maybe a consignment type of agreement or something where you can essentially understand what the demand is, test it at the beginning. Don't go all in on something just because you have a gut feeling on it. After you get some feedback and you get some demand planning and you understand like, okay, I know I could sell 30 of these every week, then you can buy traditionally and you have to sell your 30 or 35 or whatever it is. But until you get to that point, make sure you can pass all that liability or exposure off to the entrepreneur because they're honestly probably going to come to you. You're not going to come to them in this scenario. So a lot of times you have the leverage, you have the power. So making sure that you can limit your biggest exposure. I think that's what scares most people from stocking anything from a fresh perspective because you think, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell this. So just making sure you can manage it and being able to offer something unique and different that nobody else is offering in your community just gives you that exclusive experience that somebody's going to come in the door for you guys. So similar, high volume in most cases, because these are going to be single item, low cost per unit. You're going to have low margins again, probably even lower than you're going to have on the packaged food side. But this is more relationship based. This is going to be something that you want to hopefully get more out of it than just a simple sale. You're going to have somebody that's going to be also a brand advocate. If you're helping, Alyssa's Protein Donuts or something, and then she's sending 12 customers a month to you because she is selling, that ultimately is going to help you and kind of create a little bit better of a blended margin than just that low margin type of product. Talked about the shelf life. Again, spatially restricted. It's just kind of one of those things where you can't really put it everywhere. You have to really strategically think about where you're going to put that. I think the biggest thing about fresh goods for you guys to think about is that generally if somebody is going in and buying fresh goods, it's a conversation starter. It's something that it's a certain type of person who buys them, and because of that, it opens up a conversation for you. Fresh goods is something that a lot of people will daily grab, like for their lunch, or they will come in and employees will stop in constantly. So it gives you the opportunity to see the same people and talk to them and ask them questions, ask them some discovery type of things. Talked about earlier, like if you find out that a bunch of employees are coming in and buying a fresh made meal every day for you, they're looking probably for better for you, healthier for things in their work location. They're not getting that. They're getting Fritos and Oreos at their work. So it opens up the opportunity for you to say, hey, can I get a contact to the buyer or the office manager or something? I'd love to be able to just maybe serve some samples to you guys or something like that. Maybe they do a catered lunch every couple of weeks. Maybe they do whatever. It's just incremental type of revenue that's much different than just thinking about protein bars and energy drinks. That's just, a lot of times that's your existing customers in the most sense. You're not getting a little bit spread outside of your core, and you want to get a little bit outside your core, a little bit outside your comfort zone to get new customers in the door. And then the idea of like brand equity, what I was talking about with like kind of the gateway for additional brand equity is that fresh goods usually, because it's very much a food in the most cases, usually has a much stronger appeal to somebody. Like, food is through the heart, or whatever that saying is. Essentially, it's like people generally have a much closer connection with restaurants than they do supplement stores. And because of that, it brings you a little bit closer to that customer. And because of that, if you're serving them correctly and you're doing all those types of things, hopefully you can get a larger, a longer, bigger customer lifetime value out of that. Last one is like grocery packaged goods. So this is a little bit different than the packaged goods, a little bit different than fresh, but these are going to be ones that are more traditionally considered like grocery items. And you've already been seeing them for probably the last 5 to 7 years, but you're going to see them a lot more happening. And it's an idea of, do I stock these or not? Are these worth it or are they not? This is a matter of attracting lifestyle customers. This is about getting them to something that maybe is a lot more familiar with them. They are used to buying similar type of products to these, maybe not in a better for you, healthier sense. These are traditional ones, but this is easier for you to sell. So you have the nut butters that you guys see, the protein ones. You have things like kombucha or energy teas, again, not anything. You have breakfast items. You're seeing a lot more like the protein cereals, the pancake mixes. You're seeing ice cream, which is interesting because it depends on what your thoughts are on freezers. If you already have freezers in yours, I know a lot of you guys probably sell like muscle egg and things.
So unfortunately, my battery had died when I was recording. I had it set up on a table in the back, as you guys can tell. I was not in a position to be able to change out a battery or anything like that, and I got through about 80 to 85% of the speech, but I wanted to make sure that I kind of covered the rest of the things that you guys didn't get to see on that video. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different than the people that saw it in that room, but the topic that I was covering at the end was the idea of grocery packaged goods, and specifically I was on the item of ice cream. And ice cream has been one of those functional foods that have been pretty interesting to see with the popularity of a Halo top that just actually got acquired. And if a retailer does have freezer space because they're stocking maybe a muscle egg or something like that, they probably have a freezer already, maybe it's underutilized. So being able to maybe stock some of these functional ice creams, be that a protein type of a low carb ice cream or a keto type ice cream, might be a pretty unique way to service the customers that are coming in with a differentiated product, a unique product that they're already probably purchasing in some way, but maybe not the best option for them through their grocery store. So if you do have a freezer, it might be a really good product to offer. And then the idea of additional grocery packaged goods items that traditionally are bought in a grocery store that a lot of mainstream lifestyle consumers are purchasing. I'm talking about here maybe like syrups, so sugar-free type syrups, things that could be swapped out pretty easily from the traditional conventional type of products that are packed with maybe sugar or packed with fats or packed with whatever other things are in there. So this is a swap out. You can offer those products within your retail location. Also seasonings, a lot of seasoning companies have been out for a while. There's some good ones, some bad ones. Just in general, it's another great kind of add-on. It's a cross sale for you to add on to a ticket price if consumers are looking to get healthier for them, better for themselves, and they're looking to implement some diet and food strategies. Having those products in your store can create incremental revenue to help maybe drive revenue maybe 3, 4, 5, 10% more year over year by having these products in there. These are not going to be what customers come in and do their grocery shopping with, but having some of the popular or some of the very unique fitness-based companies that are utilizing maybe more grocery item delivery in terms of the category in which they're producing products, great opportunity for you to stock those products that people would originally be buying at a grocery store. Want to cover the economics around this as well. This has been a theme across all of this functional food and functional beverage presentation, but this is generally going to be, a low to a small type of multi-serving type of a transaction. It's still going to be a pretty average to low ticket price per unit economics around them. The price is going to be $10, maybe $15 on the high end on these products. You have usually about average volume for these products. These are specialty products. These are specialty products that are within a grocery store as well. So the grocery store has obviously a lot more volume in terms of foot traffic that comes in, but you're having a probably more average volume depending on maybe what you stock and maybe what the customers are. This could be a higher volume play for you, but I would guess that majority of it is going to be an average volume play. It's also going to be pretty average or low margin. This is not going to be something that you make a bunch of money per item you sell. This is going to be, again, add-ons. This is going to be incremental type of revenue when you're doing cross sales. These products have average shelf life, so not necessarily the issue you had with fresh goods, so you don't have as much exposure in terms of spoilage. You do have a little less life comparable to a caps, powders, pills, or maybe even a packaged consumer good. So you just have to kind of pay attention to maybe what you're stocking to make sure you're always having the freshest product possible if you are going to stock grocery packaged items. And then most of them are not spatially restrictive in the sense that you can kind of put them all over the place. They have a lot of different areas that you could kind of stack them and put them into. They don't need to be in specific spaces. The leverage points with the grocery packaged item, honestly, the most important part to think about this is these are the products that are going to get mainstream consumers, Sally from Iowa, to be into the sports nutritional supplement funnel. This is mainstream, this is lifestyle, this is middle America. These are people that are not necessarily doing the caps, powders, pills. If you are used to eating Big Macs or you're used to eating, the McDonald's big breakfast or something like that, you're not going to honestly just change over to this like super clean eating lifestyle. You're going to be taking all these caps, powders, pills. It's not going to happen. People are not going to stick with you long term if you are trying to go from A to Z. You need to have something where it's kind of like A to H, where essentially Sally comes in and she's like, I'm used to eating a Big Mac, but I really like this protein bar. It tastes really well. It tastes kind of like a candy bar. It's really great. I love it. She's going to be more willing to stick with that. Or, hey, Sally, instead of using that high sugar syrup, maybe you try this Walden Farms no sugar type of a syrup. It does taste really well. It's good. It's a good substitute. Why don't you try it out? She tries it out. It's very similar in terms of what she's used to. She's more willing to stick with it. Now, the longer she sticks with this lifestyle change, the better she is to get her down closer to more core products, the ones that maybe have more margin for you. And these are the caps, the pills, maybe the powders that you have, the more traditional supplements and sports nutrition products. But this is kind of the gateway. This is the entrance to the category. This is where all the mainstream lifestyle customers are going. So to stock these products into your store, a lot of times this is just giving you availability to new customers. And the goal here is to create new customers in the door. You have all the opportunity in the world to stock the same merchandising, the same stuff that everybody else is stocking, and you're just going to be basically having the same customers and the same stuff they're always used to. Or you can have a lot of intent in terms of what you're doing for a merchandising strategy. You can create plans in place to solve a lot of your problems, making sure that you're getting the right customers, the new customers in the door. And then after they're in the door, you're able to leverage that relationship that you're building with them. You're helping them with a new lifestyle change. They're going to trust you more. You're going to be able to then maybe sell them into maybe a capsule, powders, or pills or something like that. So that was basically the end of this presentation, the functional foods and beverage part that I did for the Supplement Retail Mastermind. I'm going to actually be putting all of my PowerPoint presentations, the two that I did, the Retail 101 and then this, the functional food and beverage. I'm going to be putting this on SlideShare. I'll put the link down below in this YouTube video, but SlideShare is going to be where you're going to be finding this if you're interested in the actual PowerPoint deck. I know it's hard to see on the actual video just because of different exposure levels and things with the bright screen and then the lighting in the wind and all those different things. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this particular video. If you ever have any questions specifically to your business and you have nuances and things that you want to kind of cover and you're thinking maybe what should I stock in my store, maybe is there ways for me to get around some uncomfortable points in my retail business and why I'm not stocking these products currently, reach out to me. I'd be glad to kind of go through some of those things for you.